The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will be live.
Greetings, my followers, Meckanimal, and today I'm going to teach you guys two simple exercises that you can use in your quest to master the pancake. And the pancake is a very good flexibility movement and a good tool that you can use when training for skills, flexibility and mobility skills like the split, for example, whether it's front split or side split. And the pancake is usually people having a hard time performing the pancake due to the lack of flexibility in the hamstring, which is a very common problem for most people. So this is pretty much two simple exercises that you can use and have fun with it until you master the pancake itself. And the first exercise I'm going to use is going to be called the horse stance. And the horse stance is pretty much a wide stance of a squat position. So you position your feet as far apart as possible from each other, and then drop down in the squat stance. And from that squat stance, you could go in a dynamic dynamic pattern or in the static pattern. And usually, whenever you program your workout, you want to be achieving a mix of dynamic and static stretch. So I will give it at your own discretion now whenever you're using those exercises, but I will nonetheless show you guys how both versions of dynamic and static movement should be done. And yeah, so there's to perform the horse stance, I want you to start by keeping your leg together, and you will go out, in, out, in for as far as 5 steps to 7 steps. I usually go 7 steps because 5 steps doesn't give me enough stimulation, and my strength around the 5 step is quite legit already. So for me to get a better stimulation, I go as far as 7 steps outward. But for the sake of these videos, I'm gonna use the 5 steps that you're gonna be using, and you can feel free to go as far out as possible. Just note that the far out you go, you get down into the split range already. So I want to pick one a good sweet spot that's not too challenging for those muscles to recover from, because they are really small muscles, and the more you apply pressure to them, the more fatigue they get. And given that they're underused for most of us, the adductors muscle and of course the hamstring muscle, but as you go wide out, the muscles that are going to be affected the most will be the weaker one, because they're underworked in general. So to be able to let your adductors recover properly, I would suggest you not to go too wide out. So we're gonna go with 5 steps, 5 steps. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And from that position, I'm going to retract my shoulder blade, squeeze my glutes to have that neutral pelvis, pelvis to a certain extent. To have that posterior pelvis tilt and maintain the spine as neutral as possible. And from that position, I want you to come down in the squat position and hold for about between 12 and 15 seconds. So you have that 1, 2, 3, blah, 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 and then you come back up and you hold it again for about the same amount of time that you held at the bottom. So that's me right there going in a dynamic version. So it's kind of a dynamic static, if you want to call it. So you go static for a certain amount of time, and you rise up for a certain amount of time, still maintaining everything tight. You could also have your arms here if you wanted to, as long as you have that retraction of your shoulder blade to maintain the spine neutral, it should all be good. So you drop down again and you hold 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, down and then go back up again. What you want to avoid is having that arched back as you come down, because it's definitely going to take away the work of the stretch required to acquire that new range of flexibility and mobility in your hip, as it compensates for the lack of mobility into your hip. So you want to keep that spine as neutral as you can, and then drop straight down it, and then have that external rotation and hold there, right there, good. Or you could do a mix of both. Hold, and then to finish up the set, you could go for just some pulsation up and down, depending on the amount of stress that you can tolerate. For a very beginner who really can't tolerate even 5 seconds down, you could just go with some pulsation up and down. So I'm going to show from sideways what it looks like. So from here, we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Retraction right here, retraction right here. Either way, I want you to jerk straight down, and next one rotate, hold that horse stance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then back up. Hold it for the same amount of time or even more if you need more rest, and then back down again and hold that stance. And whenever you're done, or if you lack the strength to hold for even 5 seconds, just work with some repetition until you get enough strength to be able to hold it static at the bottom position. But remember, the bottom position is the most critical part of the movement that you should aim to master. And if I was to go with more steps out, it would be something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And from that position, you can see that I'm kind of in the range of the split already, side split. So from this position, I could go right here, same thing, I hold. So that's just to show you some type of variation, some type of progression that you can aim to. And like I said, there is no really specific program or recipe to get it. Those are tools that you use, and with a little bit of common sense and how to program with progressive overload and different type of increment that you can apply to it, whether it's time, the rest time, more repetition, more set. It's up to you to find that sweet spot and then progress from there. And that's for the first exercise. The second exercise is going to involve the pancake itself on the floor, and the next ingredient that's going to be critical is going to be finding like a little pipe. It can be a PVC pipe or any type of pipe that bears some type of weight. The lighter it is, the better is going to be on your on your shoulder girth, but the less pressure it will apply downward whenever you need to, when you will need the weight as a helper. So it's a little mix of both. It has to be heavy enough that it helps you going down, and it has to be not too heavy that it doesn't tire your shoulder girth, because it's now the whole point of the movement itself is not to work the shoulder, but to actually help you eliminate that spine flexion that you have anytime you tend to go down because of the compensation and lack of mobility in your hip. As you lean down in the bottom position, you get your spine that tends to round, and when it rounds, that's a compensation for you lacking the range in your hip for you to be able to touch the floor. So that's the trick actually that the bar is going to be achieving, is to help you limit the amount of spine, thoracic spine flexion that we tend to have as a reflex to compensate for our lack of mobility in there. So here you want to sit right down, right here. So you go as wide as you can, as you would, and you will see I haven't warmed up for that. Because I haven't done those pancakes in a long time, so I'm a little rusty. But the sweetness of the demonstration is that it's going to show you the benefit of using this, for example, to help you with the movement. So from here, if I was to go down, see how I can touch my head with the floor. I can touch my head to the floor, but as you can see, how far I can go down is not too far. Same thing here from sideways. I can touch, but how far, you can see that my shoulder are still far away from the floor. So let's use the bar here and get that. You go as far out as possible, whatever your range of mobility allows you to. Swing back, and from that position, I want you to reach right now. You see the difference? Now my chest is touching the floor. You see that, right? Before I could because of my spine tending to flex. Once I move out with the bar, pulling my shoulder blade together, and if I was unable to do it like actively because my shoulder retraction will be so hard without the bar. This bar, me holding it, forced my shoulder blade to stay retracted, and from that position, as I go, I can touch the floor. Show the same thing here. On the side, you have that. So here, you go out, and from that, I lean down. See the difference? Right there. So, like the first movement, the horse stance. With this case, in this case, you can be static. You can perform the exercise in a static manner, or the dynamic manner, or a mix of both. And the static will be just going down and hold for as long as 5 to 15, and then back up, relax, go back down again, hold it for 5 to 15, and then back up again. Or you just pulse it, which most people are gonna be needing to do because most people will not be able to reach the floor. So for you, the goal is to use the bar right here, and then once you are helped with the bar, maintaining that back retraction, I want you to force yourself to pulse it down and back, down and back. And what I was saying is, the heavier the bar is, the more push you're gonna be having. The problem is when you get too heavy, then your shoulder start getting tired, and as a result, it kind of messes up with the efficiency of the movement itself, like the goal, the efficiency of the protocol itself. I mean, it kind of diverts from the very reason why you're actually using the exercise, which is for your hip mobility. So that's that. So you have 2 good exercises that can be used for you to 2 good exercises that can be used on your quest to master the pancake and help you open up your hips and get you strong into that range of motion. Get your musculature, especially the adductors, strong and flexible, which most people lack. And I'm going to go over them again. It's going to be the horse stance first. Go as far as 5. You go down and up, down and up. The deeper you go, the better stretch you get in there. And then you have the pancake assisted with the ball. Go as far out as possible. Get out there and then drop down to the bottom and up. Drop down to the bottom and up. And the reason why you use the bar is that because it's naturally harder to maintain the retraction of your shoulder blade while aiming for the floor. The spine wants to flex itself to make up for our lack of strength and mobility there. You want to use the bar, and once you dislocate it in that back position, holding the bar itself help you maintain your shoulder blade together, and it's gonna help you acquire even more range than you could if you were just to force yourself, you know, without anything. So that's just a little a trick to use in the second exercise, and that's how you get to improve your pancake position. And hope that was useful. This is your boy Meckanimal. Like, comment, subscribe, and yeah, liking it. I mean, I can't mention it enough that it helps with the algorithm, and that's something we need at the moment for the channel to be well known out there. And this is everything is, and will always be, the Meckanimal way. Vacuum, baby. A little fat, but we got that density. Peace.
The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will be live.